Well, welcome to the Seraphine podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and today we have Craig Donnell Jr.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I have to say, it's always interesting for me to pop in a seat with someone who I've heard about you and I've never met you. And there's always this bit of vulnerability in me because, you know, I always say to my team, I'm like, you know, I want to give whoever sits in the chair like due respect for where they've come from, where they've been at. So that's why, you know, I ask for bios and I try to do my homework. So today, as we have this conversation, I can already tell there are so many different planes that we connect on. And I'm so excited to give you this platform to kind of talk about your business, who you are, and share this like little snapshot in your life.
Awesome.
of where you're at now. So to our viewers and listeners, talk to me about your story from kind of how you got into fitness and where you are today.
Oh, man. Okay. So I used to play basketball in college. I went to Independence Community College, and I was a point guard, and I was real small, real tiny, man. And I used to get pushed around a lot. So I would go to the gym and try to get bigger. And I went to Prairie View after Independence, and this guy just took a liking to me. He said, "Hey, man, come work out with me." This big old Jamaican guy. And I remember this is when baggy shirts was in. So I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll work out with you." And he took his shirt off. I'm like, "Good God, this dude is big." So we started working out. I remember I was late to one session. I was overslept. And I said, "Oh, crap." So I get down there. He's pissed. He said, "I charge $60. I do you for free. I charge you for free. Yeah, I train you for free." He said, respect my time. Respect my time. So he had me hitting all this crazy weight by myself, no spotter.
Wow.
And he was like, he put 225 on a bench. He said, "Hit it." I said, "I can't hit this. I'm 175. He said, "You didn't even try. You didn't even try." And I thought about it. I was like, dang, how many times do we do that? Like, we'll say we can't do something without even trying. And I tried. I couldn't hit it.
Yeah.
But it's the
Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
blocking that you're like, I can't do this. I can't do that. And that day, it started me on this path to say, you really can do anything you set your mind to. So I've always had this love for helping people. So later on in life, I fell in love with fitness. Realized that it was one of the best ways I could do to help people, because everybody wants to look good, but more so than looking good, they want to feel good.
Yeah.
And I think people think that correlates, like the better you look, the better you feel, when it's not always true.
No.
I've trained a lot of people, and the good looking people are not always happy. It's like an inside job.
Oh, 100%. There's a book that I've been revisiting. I think it's called The Body Book. Cameron Diaz writes about it. Cameron Diaz, back in the day, you know, she was known for this young, gorgeous beauty,
she was
blonde.
tough.
And, you know, she hit 39 years old. And all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, how does it feel to be going on 40?
Right.
And, you know, the whole book is about that no matter how much that you can look on the outside young, that it really is embracing where you're at now,
Yep.
and that it's embracing your age to where you start to feel younger because you're owning it and you're trying not to be a imposter of kind of faking your age, you know?
Oh, that's good.
It is. It's pretty cool. And I have a lot of respect for, there's a lot of people in my age bracket now. I'm 43. How old are you?
Wow. 36.
36. So we're kind of in that interesting time where I see a lot of people our age learning things, wanting to share them, and also peeling back more layers. And when you were talking just earlier about, you know, him giving you this massive amount of weight, you being like, "I can't do it." It's really all in the attempt, because most of the time we're going to fail. So when you were a kid, were you in a household that was like, failure's not an option, you know, or was it a, hey, try again? Or was it a safe household? Like how did you grow up? Like how were you as a little boy?
My dad was tough. I'm the only boy. I got two sisters, and I'm the only boy. My dad got remarried. I got a stepbrother. But it was like if you made a mistake, it was the end of the world. So I became this perfectionist. Like, I got to do everything perfect. I got to do everything. I be doing stuff around the house. I made this laundry sign the day before yesterday. My wife was like, "Oh, it's perfect." I'm like, "No, it's not." So I made it like 7 different times so I got it right. And it's embedded in me. But yeah, it was, I got a son, he's 7 months, and I want to find the balance because it brought out greatness, but it brought out this fear to be less than your best at the same time.
Yeah.
So I want to find a balance where, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing because I literally believe that you can literally do anything because of the way, but my dad didn't have a dad. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? He was a great dad, but he didn't have nobody to show him the way. And I think as a sponge, you should soak up everything and just take out all the bad. So he taught me a lot of good stuff.
That's pretty cool. It's funny. I think there's a quote by Banksy, the graffiti artist, and he talks, it's something to the effect, I don't have it word for word, but it's something about, you know, this generation of parents are so much about like basically like protecting their child and not allowing them to be who they really are. Like they're trying to give them every opportunity to be who they think they should be, but they kind of ignore who the child really is. And it's so interesting because I felt that a lot when I was a kid because my father was an immigrant. He came over from Iran, and you know, my mom was, you know, from just a blue collar family. You know, my grandfather was in World War II, and they were very protective people, and they were very safe people. And they always were like, I can't tell you how many times my parents would say, "Put your head down. You know, don't try to like, you know, be too much or, you know, get in people's faces. Like, calm it down." And you know, it's so funny because my whole life I've wanted to not calm down. I wanted to be in people's faces and be like, see me, you know. And it's so interesting now when I see children and I talk to parents and there is this like safety bubble. Like they put their kids in like frickin' packing wrap, and it's like they need to feel, they need to scream, they need to stumble, you know? So as a new father, what was something that came naturally, and what was something that you were like, oh dear Lord, what the hell?
Providing. My dad, if there's one thing he taught me, is how to provide. Like, he knows how to make money. He's gonna go out there and get it. And one thing that I learned it through my wife was grace and patience. Cause having a kid, golly, I grace and patience. And I told her one day, I remember I was driving to a job. I was thinking in my head, I said, "Yo, you must have grew up in a house of love, huh?" And she was like, "Yeah, my dad was like grace, just love, 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 love." And she was like, my mom was like, if you made a mistake, it was the end of the world. She was like, I always wanted people to feel like my dad made me feel. So she, you know, she had a choice. And I was like, man, I need to adopt that. So with my son, it's funny you mentioned that earlier, how we want these people to be spitting images of us. Like my son is the third. He's Craig, the third. I call him C3. And I told my wife the other day, I said, I want him to be him, no matter what that means. You know what I mean? Of course you got an idea, you want greatness, but I want him to be okay. If he doesn't want to play sports, if he doesn't want to do this, I just want him to be his best version of himself.
Ah, that's amazing. I love to hear that. Sometimes I wish I could have had like a talk with my father when he was a young dad, you know, as like if I could just put myself back in time and just, you know, let him see who he produced growing, like me as an adult woman, because, you know, sometimes I think parents are their worst critic and they always are looking for what they did wrong.
Facts.
So when we do the flip side of it, what didn't come naturally to you as a father, and what are you learning right now? How are you learning to be a better version of what, you know, you may not have come naturally? Spit the words out, Seraphine. I'm like,
I'm just learning how to be there in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think this COVID thing happened at a great time. My son was born when COVID started.
Wow.
So
That's
it was
crazy.
like, yo, I get to spend all this time with him.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I'm like, yo, this dude is crazy because he requires so much. And I'm just having a mental breakdown. And my wife is just killing this thing. And I'm just like, and I'm just noticing how I'll be holding him, trying to feed him, and I'm watching the game, or I'm doing something else, or I'm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she'll be just making eye contact with him and doing all this stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm not here. So I had to learn how to be in the moment. And like you just said earlier when we was talking about sitting at the dinner table and eating and enjoying your food, just taking those little things, like we go on walks together. We got a gym downstairs in our house, so I'll train her and I'll wear him on, you know, the little things. That,
the little, like, papoose thing with the,
I'll wear him like kangaroo.
Yeah.
And just being there, man. My dad was traveling. He was always on the road because he's a provider. He knew how to make money. But there was a disconnect in our friendship because he was hardly there. Yeah. And I was like, man, I don't want that for my son. I want to be there for
I think that
moments.
Your wife sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, she's
Number
dope.
one, my favorite word is grace. I think I've had to learn grace this last year for myself. So when did you meet your wife? So I'm curious because when I first saw you, I saw the picture of my husband, so he was like, that guy's coming on your show. Because, you know, you're like this, because again, it's the bodybuilding, the IFCC, right?
IFBB?
BB. See, you know me and my workout. IFBB. Was it before or after that you met her?
It was after that.
Okay, good. Because that would have been a lot. Yeah. Because you're so focused, right? When you do that, there's like no women.
So I was married during that time.
Oh my gosh.
This is my second marriage.
Interesting.
So
do you think that caused a little bit of? Because I heard that like the training for that is like basically everybody in your life is like they're there, but you're like.
So she did it before I did it.
Oh,
she
no
got
way.
me into it. Yeah. And yeah, she was a lot like that. Like nothing matters but this. But I've never, like, even eating. You said downstairs how you hardly eat. Yeah. That's how I was. Even when I'm training for shows, I'm like, man, if you need to eat, we're gonna split this meal. Even though I need 6 ounces of protein. Like, we're just gonna split the meal. But no. How did I meet my wife? This is an interesting story. It's very interesting.
You
story.
can edit it if you want, but this is
will.
all about being real.
So, I met her at my old church's, what was it, 5th year gala?
Yeah.
I think it was the 5th year gala. And I was there with my fiance at the time, my first wife. Yeah. And I remember looking over the floor. I was like, who the heck is that? And something in my spirit was like, yo, stay far away from her. Yeah. And what was that, 2011? 2017. Yeah. She moved back. She moved to LA. She moved back here. And I was training at this gym in Independence. And someone was like, yo, go up to the gym. No, I ain't got no clients today. Yeah. After the divorce, divorce is rough. I'm not an advocate for that. No. I thought I was never going to get married again.
I'm sure. My husband was the same way. He's like, never again. Never again.
Then I meet her and I'm like, just proves to us how much we really don't know. But anyway, someone's like, go up to your gym. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to go to my gym. Because I was having one of those moments where I was just a roller coaster. And I wanted to be alone. It was like, go to your gym. And I was like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm just talking to myself. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go up to the gym. So I'm dapping everybody. Hey, what's up, man? Ooh, you know, you got to put on the face. Hey,
totally. The gym face. Like, hi, I'm here, but I don't want to talk to you.
And this girl comes off the leg curl. Hey. I look. Oh, hey. And it's her. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm supposed to be here. And I just sat in the back on the bench press. And I was like, man, you should ask her out. No, I don't want to ask her out. I'm just doing this in my head. Like, no, you don't want to ask her out. So she leave, and I think I text her. Or I DM'd her on IG. I said, yo, you want to go grab some food? I try to make it seem like it wasn't a date because I don't think nobody really knew. I think they knew that we was, me and my ex-wife were separated. But yeah, it was still, I get it.
Oh, I get that.
We went through a divorce. We don't do all that. But so she said, she told me later on in life, she said her auntie was braiding her hair, and her auntie and her mom was over there. She said, yo, this dude, I don't know what's up with his story, but he asked me to eat. She said, well, at least you're going to get a free meal. Find out. And she went, she came out, and the rest was history. I knew literally from our first date I was going to marry her.
That is, it's so funny. I think people really like underestimate their gut instinct. Mm-hmm. And really when I have it, it's like every time I've denied it, something bad happens.
Facts. Mm-hmm.
And when I listen to it, it's like every door opens up. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, it's like your little miracle in you. It's like your sixth sense or mm-hmm. whatever. But yeah, it's funny because I see a lot now within my own life, this sense of like, I don't know, just taking pause and like feeling things out before. I used to be like ready to jump in, like when can I insert myself in something? And now, just like you were talking about, like the debate in your head, mm-hmm. a lot of times I'm like, okay, am I really feeling what I'm feeling? You know, is this, well, I know what you're feeling. But I have to have these moments of pause because I now have too much at risk.
Yep.
When did you know, like in your fitness journey? So when you transitioned out of like the bodybuilding world into training, uh-huh. How was that for you? Was there, because I know right now I have had a really major shift in identity. I was always a fitness person. Mm-hmm. I was always teaching. I was always, big classes and celebrity training and all this kind of fun stuff. And then what ends up happening is I get older and my mm-hmm. body gets tired. And then I realize, all right, well, fuck, I'm like in my 40s, right. And then you have to transition and go, all right, well, what's next? When you transitioned, because you seem like, you're still in it. You're still mm-hmm. in the training world, but it seems like there's a shift happening. Mm-hmm. So talk me through what changed from bodybuilding into training and then now where you see yourself going.
I just like helping people. Like even when I would bodybuild, I would have people training with me, and just seeing somebody's transformation, just being a part of it, even if it's a small part, just seeing how somebody views the world differently. That's gold to me. Like just from somebody to I can't to I can, just that's rich to me. Yeah. So like going back to, like I said, how I even got into fitness, I just love helping people. And I think we can talk about purpose. Like people put too much on that purpose thing. And I'm like, what's my purpose? Like, I don't think a job is your purpose. Yeah. Like, I don't think God would be mad if LeBron James wasn't a basketball player. Yeah. Because his purpose is to do what he's doing off the court. Mm-hmm. And he's done something. He can do that as a lawyer. He can do that as, any position, but he's using that platform to do his purpose. And my purpose has always just been helping people. So I just do it through fitness. Yeah. And it's kind of like the bait that I use to reel people in. Because I want to look good. I want to do this. Yeah, but I'm really going to dive deep into this trauma that you haven't healed from, and we're going to deal with that.
When's the first time, or talk me through like the first time with a client that you realized it was beyond? Because I know my ability as a teacher and a trainer changed. Mm-hmm. I started out, I knew how to talk to bodies, but I also knew that I was missing something. And then there was just this one day to where I knew and I saw in my client's body this sense of just like the world was hurting her. And I needed to help raise her up. And what clicked was I knew who she was. I knew what she needed, but I was always afraid to voice it. So once I did, it completely changed it. What changed in the way that you became a trainer into, I hate using the word life coach, but it's like you become a motivator. It's kind of like when you call influencers and you're like, nah, I want to have an impact. When was that shift for you?
So you said something earlier about your gut knowing, like I knew I wanted something, like you just said, a trainer and life coach. And I was watching this Gabrielle Union. She was on TV and she was talking about her life coach. And she was like, she used to be the woman that she'd come in the room and all attention be on her. She said, and then a younger woman would walk in and she'd start hating on her because all the men would be attracted to her. She said she was at this party once and it happened. And she was like, I wonder who she had to sleep with to get in this room. Her life coach was like, yo, how much money did you make? She said, what you mean? She said, did your boobs grow? Did this happen? She said, how much did you make for tearing that poor girl down? And then she said one day she was boxing, and I'm paraphrasing from what I remember. She said one day she was boxing. She said, name 10 things you love, yada, yada, yada. She was like, I can't, I'm tired. She said, just 10 things. She was like, oh, I can't believe it's not butter, artificial crab, and all that. She was like, you only know what you love. How's somebody else gonna know what you love? And she said she just started tearing her down to build her back up. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want. It just spoke to my spirit. I said, that's it. That's exactly what I want. So when I do personal training, it's more so, I live by this. I think you should be better after you leave my presence than when you came in. So I think as my job is to not dump what I'm maybe going through personally on you, but to figure out what you're going through in life and try to encourage you and inspire you to just change your perspective. Because, I mean, we were just talking when you walked out the room. It was like, man, life happens. Like, there's no way around that. My boy's dad just died Saturday. Yeah. We had to bury him. And, like, life happens. Like, so what are you going to do? Because it keeps going. Yeah. Like, how long are you going to sit? How long are you going to wait? Like, something in life is going to happen to you. Like, you got to keep going.
I love that you call what you do and your business intentional living.
Thank you.
Living with intentions, like it sounds so great. We all think we do it. And then something happens to remind you that life ends. And I feel like for me in the last 3 weeks, my father got diagnosed with ALS. And if you know anything about the disease, you don't know whether their ability to talk goes first or their body crumbles in. But basically, it's watching someone deteriorate, right in front of your face, in a chair. And I just realized, like, I was in all these yoga trainings and I read all these theories about life and living and suffering and all this theory and philosophy. And until someone says to you that either you've lost someone, like they died, or your father's got 2 to 4 years to live, like, I don't know if the human brain, like, we have the idea, we know the theory, but to feel it in your body is like a whole different thing. And it's the closest thing I think I've ever got to enlightenment in some ways, because
that's deep.
It's like, and it's hard to go back and teach and to be motivating and talk about being, like it's not about not necessarily being fake or being this uplifting person, but it's about talking to the person in a way to where when they're there with you, that they're not just going through the motions of the exercise, that they're peeling back layers.
I like how everything is connected. What we're talking about, we was talking about that earlier, from just eating food together. So I think there's I don't want to say arrogance, but I'll say arrogance to humans, that we don't understand that death is coming for us all. Like, it's coming.
We're dying right now.
We're literally
dying
like,
right now.
Something's gonna happen.
We're growing old.
I think I heard Robin Williams in the movie Good Will Hunting. He said, why does bad things happen? He said, bad things happen to wake you up to what's most important. And I think to be there in the moment is most important, because you don't know if you got that next moment. Somebody was like, I was leaving somebody yesterday, and I was like, all right, man, we'll do it next week. I said, well, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We might.
Yeah.
You don't even know if we're going to be here next week. So
Yeah.
I try to stay in the moment. I try not to put off a I love you or just an encouraging or inspiring word. I'll tell them one day.
Yeah.
Like, give people their flowers.
Oh,
because you never know this ripple effect. What you know what I mean?
Everyone makes fun of my goodbyes because I say goodbye like it's the last time I'm going to see people.
100%.
I mean, like, to a point. And even if I'm hurrying people out the door, I'm just like, thank you. Today was a good day. I love you. You know, I'm sorry. Like, if I'm not here, like, even my apologies come out of like the laundry list of like what I felt like I didn't show up, because I feel like, and I've always felt that way, but I really feel it now. So like when I don't know now, and the other thing that's so funny is, I'm sure you feel this as a father, is this sense of like what used to be important to you just starts to like it becomes and it becomes very simple, right? So now, you know, where you are in your business and where and when you step on that training floor, is there times that you know, you said to me earlier, like, you try not put too much of yourself onto the other person. You have been applauded by many people who, when your name has crossed their lips, and I've heard about you, because I only by reputation, is that you're like this positive force, and that nothing bad, like, he just brings you in, and he's got to have the best life. He must always wake up in a good mood. And I know that's not true. And I know that's not true. So talk to me about vulnerability. And I mean, as a black man, you're not supposed to be vulnerable.
Oh man, I just had this conversation.
Yeah, and I'm curious, because you're an imposing physique. You're a big guy. You know, you're positive, and there's this weird thing to where if you have a bad day and you're too angry, then you're scary, and if you're sad, you're weak. So where do you bring in your vulnerability and being true to yourself without, quote unquote, putting it on your clients?
It's gonna sound weird.
Yeah.
I do this. So I was reading this book one day, and this son, he went to work with his dad, and he said he used to have this little tree right outside his house, and he just rubbed the branches. He'd go to work, and he said his dad's job was just stressful. All this demand, all this. He said he would come home, and he'd rub the tree, and he'd go in the house and go play with the kids and his wife. And he asked him one day, he said, "Dad, what are you doing when you rub the tree? Every morning he do the same thing." He says, "Well, when I come home, I take all the stress from the day and leave it on this tree." He said, "I go in and enjoy my family with you guys." He said, "When I wake up in the morning, I pick it back up and I go handle the day because it doesn't belong in here." And I was like, oh, that's deep. So, but I do a lot of meditation. I actually talk to somebody. I talk to a therapist, which is good. I think everybody should talk to somebody.
I have 3.
Yeah. I think it's so necessary. And it's so much different than talking to a friend, because that's venting, and it's so different. My therapist has this thing where she'll get me to ask why 7 times until I get to the core issue, what it is.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't want to do it, why? Why? When you constantly get what it really is. And I think as human beings, we think it's this. Oh, I don't like this. Well, what really, it stems from somewhere. So with me, I don't unload my crap on other people. I think it's just who I am, though. It's a gift that I have to be able to help other people with their stuff while I'm getting help, because even the encourager needs encouragement. Yeah. Like, even with intentional living, how it came to be, I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, intentional living, this is going to be a dope business. Yeah. It's going to be this, man. I'm going to have this dope marriage. We're going to show everybody how it's supposed to be. Yeah, but first, you're going to go through this divorce. You're going to go through this $28,000 in debt. You're going to have to walk through this. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. And now you got to be intentional how you climb out all of it. And I'm like, yo, no, I didn't want this. But the process never looks like the promise. Like, I promised you this, but the process is this. I got to go through hell to get to heaven.
Yeah.
I just want to fly to heaven. Why can't I just go? But it's like, no, but this is going to build your character. I started intentional living in 2011 is when I started it. I didn't brand it in 2014, but I started in 2011. I remember I was in the gym January 1st, 2020. And I'm thinking from 11 to 20, we've been building a business, and it's been rough. And it's been, and I heard in my spirit, it was like, we built your character. Now it's time to build the business. And I was like, I'm on the bench press, and I just dropped the weight, and I'm just glossy-eyed. And I thought about it. I was like, for a decade, it took a decade to build my character.
Yeah.
It was so much that happened in this decade to make who you see now. And I'm like, oh, and you're right. People be like, oh, man, he ain't been through nothing. I'm like, oh, okay. It's just, I'm just never been one of those persons to just verbalize a vocal. I'm like, for what? You can't help me. Why should I share?
It's funny because I feel like a good representation of that, of like not knowing what he was going through, is Chadwick. Is it Boseman?
That's
is it
point in case.
Yeah,
Boseman.
Boseman. I mean, I don't think I've ever like felt something that like
that was different.
It was really because he was my age, 43, and every role he's played. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the actor, and I mean, I remember reading that he lost a lot of weight, and like he wasn't telling anyone.
And people criticized.
They criticized him, and they made it out like, you know, here's this guy who, you know, he is his character, right? He's got to be, you know, this freaking king from Wakanda that, you know, like it blows my mind. And then the humanity and the humility that it demands of you when you actually find out like what someone's battle is insane. But then there's these other people who blow my mind, who just, they tell their story in a way that, you know, some people get like, oh, you know, don't do the poor you thing. You know, oh God, you're on the pulpit preaching to me. And I'm like, but sometimes I actually think that there is a need for people to tell their story or to let them know. Like, for instance, when I got my father's diagnosis, I walked into that classroom and I was like, fuck, I don't know what words are going to come out of my mouth. I don't even know, like, the songs, like the music gets me. And there's a song that is by Colin Hayes from Men at Work, you know, that like, and it's called I Can't Get Over It. I Can't Get Over You. And it's actually a love song, and it's about a guy and a girl, but the words really, like at the end of my warm-up, I started crying. And I just said to them, I'm like, I'm going to just be real, guys. I go, my father just got diagnosed, and I don't know how this is going to be motivating to you. And I'm like, because I'm going to have days where I'm in a workout and I'm doing this, you know, like I'm tearing up, and then I'm just going to fight it through. And at the end of that class, there was a line of my students who came up to me and was just like, thank you. Yeah, like, man. Thank you for being real about it. So, you know, I will tell you, you know, as a new father and in this crazy world, and also being someone who I can already tell how many people just, you affect them. I will encourage you to talk more about the ups and downs, because I do believe in this day and age, everybody's story, the good and the bad, like everybody can benefit out of it, you know?
1,000%. I think that mindset is a part of the way I was brought up. You spoke on Chadwick. Everything he touched was excellent. It inspired me to take it up a notch. But I remember watching one interview, and this woman was like, hey, Chad, you went from super big in this role to small, back to big, and then small again. She said, man, your diet must be crazy. And he laughed. He was like, right. Because, you know, we know what he's going through now. And he was like, well, one day I'm going to be able to tell my story. And I was like, yo, I've always lived by the motto that I talk about it when it's over.
You're like my husband. Yeah, I don't like my husband.
Once I solve the problem, I'll talk about it.
Totally.
Even in my first marriage, we went through 6 years of hell. And I was like, everybody was like, relationship goals. It was this thing, oh man, you guys are a power couple and this and that. I said, well, one day we're going to be able to talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it until it's over. And and she wasn't a bad person. Her dad died of AIDS when she was 7. Her mom ran away. So she just knew how to survive. She didn't know how to love. Yeah. So she was always in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I know about people is you don't know nothing about people. You don't know what they've been through. So you said grace is your word. Every person I come in contact with, I don't take it personal. I was like, man, it ain't me. It's something in them that's created this personality from all this defense mechanisms from the trauma they went through in their life.
Trauma is a bitch.
Yeah, it is.
Come on up. I feel like and the thing is, we can't measure our trauma. I think that's the one thing that, when you do tell your story, it becomes comparative. Women are the worst at it. I think men get a little bit more stoic, like, oh, I fought through it. Women are a little bit more like, we just keep piling the shit on, and I feel like, I don't know. I do think it's important to have more conversations, especially when we, as people who get to oversee people moving their bodies, usually to music, like pushing themselves. We're watching them build themselves up, break themselves down, back and forth, in reverse, up and down again. It's a gift. And I always think about when I spend an hour of my day in my life, that sometimes there are days where I'm not as present as I am when I'm in the company of my students, because I'm really in that moment with them. And it's such like something that I'll never take for granted, that they gave me an hour of a day in their life.
That's good.
And I have that responsibility, right, to bring something to them, but also to see them and to listen. What has changed about your ability? Because I do feel like as coaches or trainers, we're usually talking at people and we're directing them. What has changed in your ability as a trainer to listen and to go off of instinct to kind of lead them through their journey?
So I like group training. So I like both. I like one-on-one and group training. There's a different reason for both. You're silly.
Giovanna's in the back like, what's up?
So I like group training because of people like Giovanna. Like all these different energies come into the room, and I can tell who's low and who's high just from being in your presence. And I've always considered myself to be a thermostat. Most people are thermometers. So if the room's hot, they're hot. If it's cold, they're cold. And a thermostat's gonna say, hey, it's too hot in there, let's cool it down. Or it's too cool, let's heat it up. But you get it literally by listening. I can hear you without you even speaking. It's weird. I can hear. You said something earlier. You said I can't have kids. I knew that. I don't even know how I knew it because I'm constantly listening. But as a one-on-one trainer, that's where I do more listening.
Yeah. Because
people come in and it's kind of like a therapy session. They just want to talk, and the physical part is just making you feel better. It's like you're leaving all the stress here with me.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the excuse.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's the excuse. You go in and what I love is that beautiful trick when a trainer really understands that this is an hour for them to get in their bodies and be present. And that's the thing is, I always hate it when people say, I just want to get through the workout. I just want to get through it. And like, I don't want to have to think. And I'm like, well, the moment you stop thinking, you stop being alive. The beauty about being in your body and using your brain, your left hemisphere, right hemisphere, turning the body around, like not doing repetitive shit over and over again. Like my workouts have changed so much because the science of our brains is so, they're prone to go to sleep. So to wake you up, to turn you in a different direction, to ask you to go to that next level, I think it's so exciting. Bless you, child. Bless you, child. Yes.
What's interesting about what you just said, I found myself falling into that trap right before COVID. And when COVID stopped or started, And I had to sit down because, you know, most men are just, oh, I'm going to go. And we suppress. Oh, I'm okay. I'm going to go work out. I'm just suppressing.
Just power through it.
I didn't realize how messed up I was until I had to sit down. And I was like, whoa, I am not okay.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with it. And I had to face it. I was talking to my client earlier online. And we was talking about facing yourself. And a lot of people don't want to face themselves. And COVID is making people sit with themselves and they're miserable. And it's literally about doing that work. Like everybody wants, I got another client send me this picture of this bodybuilder. He was like, I want to look like this. I said, bro, that's a different type of mentality you got to be up here with.
Yeah.
He said, I want to get there in a year. I said, oh, it's going to be super hard. He said, okay, 2 years. Because you don't want that process.
Yeah, totally.
You want the promise, but you don't want the process. I said, man, you can do it. It's just, it's not going to be easy. And people, I think as human beings, we want it easy. And it's
totally.
like life is not easy. Like if anything is worth having, you heard it before, it's worth working for it. But
you know, and even when you're at your top of your game, I mean, that's the thing that's so funny is my husband and I have been through this shit, like the shit. And we own our shit. Like we're the couple that we may like start screaming at each other in the middle. And like, we tell our friends, like, if you want to leave and you're embarrassed, go ahead. And we're just honest about who we are. And now we're becoming more mature, we're becoming older. So like the fight is getting knocked out of us. And we have a million therapists to tell us like, you know, what not to do. And, you know, just as we started to get the marriage right, and then like we're not financially strained, then it was like all of this beautiful success and growth is now in this bubble of COVID, of just social upheaval, and then my father.
Yep.
And then you just are like, you have to be present. You have to be in the moment. Because if you look too far in the future, then my father is maybe passed away. Maybe we have Donald Trump again as a president. Sorry, I had to put in my Democratic. I don't know if I'm a Democrat, but I certainly don't want that guy in there. Maybe we don't have a vaccine. And that's the fear-based mind. And then the lazy mind for me is like, oh yeah, it's going to be roses and everything's going to be great. And it's like just being in the moment and looking at my husband. And when he asks me a lot of times, he's like, how was your day? I won't tell, or are you having a good day? I'll tell him what I did. And I won't tell him how I feel and where I am at that present moment. And I've really started to change that. I'm not like thinking about the future or dwelling in the past. I'm really trying to be present.
I do this thing with my wife where I check in where she's at mentally because I think you should do it every so often. Like, where you at? How you feel? And she'd be like, well, I'm okay, or I'm low in this area or low in that area. But we keep saying this, but one thing I've learned is to be in the moment, to be present. Because like you just said, all this success and then this happens. That's life.
It is life. It really is. And Chunk is experiencing life now.
Right.
Hey, buddy, are you getting pissed? I think, that check-in with your wife, as we, I know I hate this because I know like my timing for my podcast. And I really like talking to you. I really do. And I really want to ask you this question because I'm curious. We're in a really crazy state right now. And you're in a position to where people come to you for their health, the wealth of their mind. And then you have this new young man who's now your son. Without getting, I don't know. And no, you can go wherever you want with this. I don't want to limit you in where you go. How are you feeling in all this? Like literally, like when you're sitting across from me and I got a Breonna Taylor shirt and I'm a white woman with a podcast and I'm talking to you about health and wellness and I'm talking to you about the state of the world today. I'm asking you about your life. How do you feel? How do you feel right now in this frickin' moment with everything around you? And then I guess taking it to your son and the people around you. How are you going to talk to them? How are you going to talk to your son about this time of your life?
Oh, man.
I know.
I was telling my wife, because he wakes up and we got masks on. We about to go somewhere.
Yeah.
He'll just be looking at me.
It's like, where did Dad's mouth and nose go?
So we went to the store and he just be looking at us. If he don't see us smiling, he won't smile.
Yeah.
So I'll be smiling under the mask, but he just be looking. And I was like, dude, he grew up. His normal is gonna be. They was wearing masks and we stayed in the house and yada yada yada. And I was asked the other day. I said, I wonder how that would have been as a kid. Like, I mean, I wonder what it's going to do to his mindset. Like, does he really understand? Like, why do they have on masks and all that? But, man, I want to have, well, I do. I mean, I talk to him like he's grown. I have conversations with him because I believe he's smart.
Yeah.
I just have conversations like he can. And I made fun of my wife because I got it from her.
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking to him like he understands? She said, he does. And when she left me with him,
Yeah.
to fend for him when she took a nap or go, I find myself talking to him like he's a grown man. And it's so much, I don't know, man. It's just something about what you keep saying about being there, no matter what is thrown at you. I'm looking at this situation. I was admiring your house, and I'm like, how did I get here? Yeah. And I think it's just about the light, the intentional decisions you make throughout your life. I'm just like, how did I get here? Like, how did I get recommended for something like this? I think of everything like it's a major opportunity. This is a major opportunity for me. And I'm just like, how did I get here? That's interesting. You know what I mean? Just to think of like just small. I'm like, how did I get? Look at your sign. It's like, this is just super dope to me.
And I love it because it's these connections with people where I am humbled because I I heard the words that describe you. And I guess the reason why I did this whole podcast was because I think we underestimate ourselves so much.
Facts.
And it's so beautiful to like sit down and hear someone's story and be inspired by their life. And even though our lives are not the same, there are so many things that we have in common. And I think that that's the beauty of where we're at right now in this time, is to really understand it's okay to be different, because there are going to be similar threads. And unless you have these conversations with people, you're never going to really realize like all the treasures of people and the people that you can grow from and learn from. And I can't tell you how
that's so good.
Honored I am that you came on the podcast without knowing, and just kind of like, it's a different experience, but it's a way to you to have a time capsule. Yeah. To give to your son later, and he can click on a YouTube video. Hopefully Donald Trump doesn't shut down YouTube. Right. And then, he can know what his dad was like during the time that he was born.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Of course I came on because I'm good friends with Giovanna, and I trust her. She's great. She's a positive little what do I call you? A little ball of energy. Yeah. She comes in flipping through the class, doing all her backflips. Like she thinks she's better than me, but
it's good people. Yeah. It's good people.
I trust people's judgment. She has a good judge of character, and she spoke highly of you. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll do it. Had no idea what I was getting myself into, but this has been incredible to me.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens with intentional living. I can't wait to have you back on the podcast with a older son, hopefully seeing your mouth and your nose. Yeah. And then, these are these moments in our life that, it's just worth to pause and to feel it and to be in it. So I ask where, if you enjoyed this episode and you liked and subscribed and did all of that fun stuff, I ask you to leave our listeners and our viewers with where, if they wanted to connect with you or see where you train, what you feel comfortable leaving them with, because they will look you up on Instagram or wherever.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Intentional Living LLC. You can find me on Craig Donnell Jr., Instagram, Craig Donnell Jr., Facebook. I have a website, intentionallivingllc.life. And I train at my house actually right now because of all this COVID stuff. So I felt the safest to train there. I got a gym downstairs, and I train at F45. I do group classes there. So yeah, you can find me around the city. Contact me.
Definitely. And I promise you it will be an experience. Not only does the man have an imposing physique, he is also somebody who's got an open heart and a really positive mindset. So definitely look him up. And, I feel like these are the times where you get introduced to people that you walk by on the street and you never knew because you didn't ask and you didn't say hi. So say hello to him. And on that note, we're going to wrap up another amazing episode, if I do say so myself, of the Seraphine podcast. And Chunk just is saying goodbye to you. Right. Hi, you almost jumped off of me. He was really excited. He's like, I'm out of here. Peace. See you later.